Today is Wednesday, August 14th, 2019. My name is Edna Sussman. I'm a reference librarian at the Half Hollow Hills Community Library in Dix Hills, New York. We're interviewing William C. Schnitzer, a World War II Navy veteran, here at the Long Island State Veterans Home in Stony Brook, New York, as part of our Veterans Testimonial Project and in collaboration with the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Thank you so much, Bill, for your service and for participating in our project today. Bill, where and when were you born?
I was born in the Bronx, May 24th, 1927.
And who were your parents? What were their names and occupation?
My mother's name is Blanche, and she was a housewife.
Okay.
My dad's name is William, and he worked several jobs because of the Depression and so forth, and they're both good people.
I'm sure. So you were named after your dad?
Yes.
Yeah, nice. And do you have any siblings and their names and genders?
I have 7 children.
You have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So who would they be?
There was Jolene, my sister. My brother's name was Bill. Oh dear.
That's all right.
Joseph.
Okay.
And I had another sister. Her name was Margaret Rose.
Nice.
And
That's it.
care of it.
And you said you had 7 children?
I myself, yes.
Wow. Were any in the military?
Yes, there was. There were 2 of them in the military, one in the Navy and one in the Marine Corps.
Very nice. Wow. Did any of your siblings serve in the service, military? Any of your sisters and brother?
My brothers, 2 of them.
Oh, did they serve at the same time as you?
No. They weren't here yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, but they served on down the road.
Yes, they did.
And do you remember which branch?
One was in the Navy, and one was in the Marine Corps.
Okay. Do you remember which period of time? Any during a wartime, or it was after you served, so it was after World War II?
Yes, it was. And the one son was in the Vietnam.
One of your sons?
Yes.
Wow.
But no, I'm sorry, not the Vietnam conflict. He was in the war with not Saudi Arabia.
Iraq?
Iraq, yes.
Oh.
Yes, he was.
And he came home. He's okay.
Well, he's home, but he was injured, and he doesn't have a regular job because he's incapable of employment.
Oh, I see. And your siblings, your brother who served, when did he serve?
I believe it was during the Korean War.
Okay.
And he came home fine.
So what were you doing before you entered the service?
Well, when I was younger, going to maybe 14 or 15, I worked on farms, and then...
You were living in the Bronx with your folks?
No.
Oh.
We moved out to Wyandanch.
Long Island, yep.
Yes, and that was in 1937 or so. So I grew up in Wyandanch, and I worked on farms. I was lucky enough to get a job and work in a farm that had the glass houses, and they grew flowers, so it was
Oh, hothouses, like.
yes, yes. And after that, I worked for the Conservative Gas Company in Wyandanch, till I went in the service. And I went in the service in 1944 and come out in 1946.
So when you entered the service, was this after high school? Did you finish high school?
No, I didn't finish high school. It's an odd thing. I wanted to get in the service. And I felt it was my duty because we were attacked, and I wanted to do my share. So
Very nice. So you enlisted.
yes, I did.
What made you pick the Navy?
Because my mother and father wouldn't sign me into the Marine Corps. I wanted to be a Marine.
You did?
Yes, and I cut school on my 17th birthday and went into that strange place called Brooklyn, which I didn't know anything about, and I spoke to the sergeant down there, and of course he told me great things.
About the Marines?
Yes.
Okay.
And when I explained it to my parents, they just said, no, you're not going.
Why?
Wait and be drafted.
Oh.
And I said, no, I want to do my duty. I was young and immature. So.
But very patriotic.
And besides, I couldn't get dates with girls because the servicemen would come home and they all wanted to go with the servicemen. So, I was left high and dry.
That's funny.
So
then you despite your parents, you enlisted.
Yes, but they made the provision not the Marine Corps. You're not going into Marine Corps.
It was too dangerous? Is that?
Exactly, exactly. And I was a miserable person at home, so they finally succumbed to my wishes. But they said the Army, and I said, no, not the Army. I'd rather go to the Navy. So that was it.
So you were 17 when you enlisted?
Exactly.
Wow. Very young.
And immature.
So this was 1944, and what happened when you enlisted, when you departed for training camp?
Oh dear. I went on a train and traveled up to what they call boot camp in upstate New York, near Elmira.
Really? Where? Do you remember the name of the?
I believe it was Sampson. Sampson Naval Boot Camp training.
I see.
And I was up there for about 4 months.
Wow, 4 months.
Yes.
It's a long time.
Yes.
Do you remember your instructors? What were they like?
Oh dear.
No?
Well, they were, well, of course, they were all in the Navy and they were young. I call them young now, of course, I'm old. But they knew their job well, and they trained very good. I remember I was always tired, and I finally acknowledged going to sleep while I was standing up.
No kidding, that tired because of the training.
Yes.
Wow.
But it was all good. Had a good bunch of fellas I was with, most of them from Brooklyn, and I said, hey, you guys from Brooklyn are odd.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
They did funny things.
Oh.
They had funny stories to tell.
Funny accent.
Yes. And I remember going up on a train it was at nighttime when I went up to boot camp, and the lights were on, bothering the fellas sleep. So they unscrewed the lights, put them up in the baggage bin, and then crawled up and broke the lights because they were lying there on it, and it didn't bother them.
Oh, jeez. Well,
So we got up to Sam's, and I was very lonely,
you were.
right? Because that was really the first time I was away from my parents and my family. But I finally caught the hang of it,
Yeah.
and I didn't want the fellas to see me how lonely I was. So it was a good bunch of guys.
Yeah. How was it adapting to the food and the military regimen and all that social life?
I enjoyed the training. I enjoyed learning, but I was always so tired.
Yeah.
And as I said, there were fellas from Brooklyn, and I remember one thing they did. We got overshoes, rubbers, and we had to put them on top of our locker, and that's where they belong. So as soon as the lights went out, a couple of them guys from Brooklyn went and got the rubber shoes and started throwing them. And you'd hear one of the fellows say, "Who did that? It hit me in the head. I have a headache now." You guys, well, needless to say, the chief.
Sergeant or? No.
Well, similar to a sergeant.
Not in the
He was a Navy chief. And he said, "You guys want to play? Okay. Tomorrow morning, reveille at 3 o'clock. So what? It was funny. But 3 o'clock came, and them fellas myself included, had a tough time adapting. Plus, it was very cold. Oh, maybe it was possibly maybe 30, 35 degrees. And we had to put on our shorts. And he ran us on what we call a grinder. It was a path where you had to run, and I think it was about a quarter mile, and I tell you, it was
Cold.
yeah, but we warmed up real quick.
Really?
And we had to run around that for about a half hour, an hour.
Wow.
And again, we didn't learn our lesson because the next night they were throwing the rubbers again.
But you weren't.
No.
So why did you get punished too?
One fellow made a mistake. The whole company had to suffer for it.
Wow.
So what would happen, you would get on the guy's back and say, "Hey, come on, wake up." Yeah, and it ironed itself out.
It did.
Yes,
Oh, jeez.
yes.
Did you? What month was this? Like in the fall or
Yes,
winter?
it was. I went in I think we ended up in November.
It was pretty cold upstate New York. I'm from upstate New York. I'm from upstate New York. I'm
Really?
in Syracuse.
Oh my gosh.
So I know Elmira a little bit,
Yeah,
but it's cold.
it is. My wife and I, in later life, we bought a house up in gee whiz anyway, Saugerties.
Oh, I know Saugerties, yeah.
And the best 10 years of
Nice.
my life up there.
Nice. Pretty up there.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And we were just off the
Off the
Hudson.
yes.
And then we were a short ways from where they had that outdoor thing.
Woodstock.
Yes.
Yeah, Bethel.
Yes. So we had to, of course we had to go over there.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And
nice.
then we traveled upstate quite a bit.
Very nice.
I enjoyed upstate.
It's calm. It's pretty.
It is. And the folks up there, they were a little clanny.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes, they said, "Oh, you're Schnitzer? You're from the city." I said, "I'm from Long Island. That's not the city."
Oh, right.
And they had a hard time.
Right.
But anyway, we got along pretty well with them. We joined the church
Nice.
and the fire department, and we had a good time
Nice.
up there.
So did you receive any specialized training after the boot camp in the
Oh,
Navy?
yes.
Oh,
I went to Bainbridge, Maryland.
Bainbridge?
Bainbridge,
Okay.
yes. And I came out as a radio man.
Oh, was that your choice? I mean, did you?
Oh, yes.
They gave you a choice?
They said, here's how they put it. You're going to radio school,
Oh.
right? Oh, you're going to radio school, right?
So no was not the right answer.
No, because you might have wound up in what they call the scullery. The scullery was where you prepare the food in the kitchen, and that's the last thing in the world I wanted.
Yeah.
So I left boot camp,
Okay.
and as I say, I went to Bainbridge.
How long was that training as radio man?
Oh dear, I believe it was a little over 4 months.
Oh,
And as a lot of other folks did, I graduated there, and I was shipped to the West Coast on a train, again with a bunch of guys from Brooklyn.
oh, that's funny.
And but they were good. They were good eggs. And I got to San Francisco, and from San Francisco, I went on an aircraft carrier, the USS Admiralty Islands, as a radio operator. And I was on there for a while, and
Where was it headed?
in the South Pacific, that's all they tell you.
Oh,
And, but all we did in that aircraft carrier was travel from the States to the islands, Guadalcanal or whatever, and unloaded our aircraft. We were an aircraft carrier, but we bought the aircraft to replace the ones that
oh, I see.
were damaged. And then we go back to the States. We carried some wounded fellas. So we were back and forth that way. And I didn't,
So you took the damaged aircraft to be repaired back.
no, I'm sorry. I should have said we replaced damaged aircraft.
Yes, you said.
And we didn't take aircraft back.
Oh, you took the wounded back.
We took some of the wounded back.
I see.
And it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. As I say, I was young and immature. I wanted to see action.
Oh,
So I wrote a letter, and unfortunately, the captain got it, and he interviewed me, and
on the ship?
yes, and he said, "You want to get off my ship?" And it's nothing personal, sir. I just want to see action. So they transferred me to a very, very small ship.
Oh,
And from going to a ship that was maybe as large as an aircraft carrier, I went on to what they call a PCE, Patrol Craft Escort. It was a weather ship.
a weather ship?
Weather ship.
Weather.
And that involved sending up balloons and getting messages back from the balloons and sending in code the message back to Hawaii, so they had an idea of what the weather was going to be and so forth. And so
How many personnel do you think were on each, the aircraft carrier and the smaller ship?
there were perhaps, I guess, I'd say maybe 1,000.
On the aircraft carrier?
Right.
And a smaller ship?
We had a crew of about 90,
90.
so there was quite a difference.
Quite a difference. And did you like that better?
Oh, I thought we were going to go to war, but we didn't go to war.
Ah.
We went out in different stations in the Pacific, the Kwajalein and, as I said, Guadalcanal.
Mm-hmm.
And we went as far as Guam.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept as a doing the weather forecasting. Then
When you went to these ports, these islands, did you stay on the ship most of the time?
most of the time we stayed in the ship. We didn't stay very long on the islands. We went back on station. There were several PCEs, and they go out on patrol for 30 days because it was a small ship. And
Did you feel, being in the Pacific could have been pretty dangerous.
well,
Did you feel that?
I felt different because I said, holy mackerel, anyway, if the Japs bomb us, where the heck am I going to
You're kind
go?
of in the middle
But,
of the water.
You didn't have time to think. When the gun went off, you just ran.
Oh, when there was a potential attack? Or
Right.
did they attack your ship?
No. We were involved in some battles, but we were in reserve. If they needed our ship, they'd send a message and our ship would go.
Okay, and that happened? Did that happen?
Yes.
Where
yes.
did you end up going for those?
Oh dear, I don't remember
Okay.
the battle. But
How were you involved in those battles?
no,
Oh.
no. We were just on standby.
I see.
If they needed us. We could hear the booms and,
You heard it.
oh yes, you seen the flashes in the sky.
Oh, wow.
And it was,
Scary.
that was a little scary to me.
Sure.
And the latter part of the war, in addition to the little PCE, we were what they call plane guard. In other words, an aircraft would come from bombing Japan, and they would tell us if they were in trouble or not, and ask us for a fix on the location. And if they had problems that they were going to go down in the water, if they were damaged that much, we would try and meet them. But we were only involved in one of them, and unfortunately, all we seen was wreckage.
Oh,
We didn't
you couldn't
see it.
save any of the
No,
personnel?
no.
Oh.
Then after the war, well, what we did, we went looking for mines. The Japanese had placed mines, and what they are is submerged bombs, if you will. So if a merchant ship went sailing there, they
Could explode.
Right. But we seen a couple of them and exploded them successfully, but that was it.
Oh, okay.
I remember,
How do you had technology to search for the mines?
yes,
Huh.
yes. And if they were submerged, as they should have been, all of us were scared to death.
Sure.
We
Could
didn't-
go off at any time.
That's right. And some of the cooks, they walked around with their life preservers on, and we laughed at them. And later we said,
Smart.
you guys were smarter than we were. We were the big heroes,
Yeah. Oh, you didn't have to wear a life preserver on the ship all the time?
Not all the time.
No.
No.
Oh.
During battle, or if you, as I say, near it, you just wore it because you knew better.
Yeah. Wow.
And finally, I was lucky enough to be picked to be flown back to the States.
Oh, how come?
Well, I was in the right spot at the right time.
So didn't mind getting out of the action part at this time?
There were no more action.
Oh, this was at the end.
But this was at the end of the war.
I see.
So I flew.
Where were you at the end of the war? When the war ended?
When the war ended, I was in the Hickam Field Army docks. What we were doing there, everything was being prepared for the invasion of Japan. And they were going to make our ship a communications ship. I should say communications boat.
Oh, and where was it docked? Near?
In Hickam Field.
Yeah, where is that?
In Hawaii.
Ah.
So they were outfitting our ship with all special gear and so forth and so on. Then while they were doing that, the war ended. And I'll tell you a little thing I seen that really bothered me. There was a fellow, he was a regular Navy man. He was in the Navy about 27 to 28 years. And
old or in the Navy that long? He was that old?
He was in the Navy that long.
Oh, wow.
So he more or less ran our ship.
I see.
And because what he said, you did what he said because you didn't want to suffer the consequences. Never mind the officers. But what I seen him do when he heard the war was over, he got on his knees and cried.
Oh.
And what had happened to him, he was on a Navy cruiser that was sunk. And he lost a lot of shipmates. And his back was just one big, massive scar because he was in the water when it was burning.
Oh my gosh.
And he was so affected by that. We couldn't believe we'd ever see this guy break down. Right. So now the war is over. What were we going to do? They took they unloaded all of our gear, radio gear. They boarded to this big pit on Oahu in the
Hawaiian
Islands. And they burned it.
Oh.
There were tons and tons of radio equipment.
Why they didn't want to keep them to use again if they ever needed?
They couldn't reuse them.
Oh.
And it would have been more costly to ship them back to the States.
Oh, I see.
So they burned it. And after that, didn't stay there too long. Then I was headed home. And
so this was in like 46 or 45?
This was the end of the war.
45.
45.
Right. So you were still in another year.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what the heck did we do? They shipped us back to the States, but I couldn't get back on an aircraft. The aircraft I went back on was supposed to take me to the States, but I was knocked off the airplane in Hawaii because an officer took my spot. So
how did you get back then?
I was on a slower ship. Oh my God. They didn't have my pay records or anything, so I couldn't get paid. And here we went back to San Francisco. I didn't have any money.
Oh, jeez.
So.
But you were still in the service.
Oh, yes.
So they had to take care of you. Or where did you
go? They
go?
did the best they could with what they had. But at the time I didn't think that's the way it should be.
Where did you end up going then? Where were you headed?
I was supposed to land in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I got there by boat from Hawaii to San Francisco.
And stay on a base there, or?
Oh yes, they had a base there. I stayed there, and what was I going to do? I didn't have any money to go anywhere.
Okay.
But finally, it caught up with me, and went back to New York via the train.
Oh.
But
How long did that take?
a heck of a lot faster than going over.
Oh. Oh, really?
Oh, sure. They wanted you over in Hawaii to get you on your way, and then coming back, they didn't need you that much. I think it took us 5 or 6 days to get back.
By train?
By train.
Okay.
And we were sidetracked on every spur to let the faster trains go through.
Oh.
But we knew we were going to be discharged. I was discharged in Lido Beach, New York, on good old Long Island.
But you were still in when the war ended. So what did
yes.
you do from 45 to 46?
Well,
Or where were you stationed?
I was on a ship,
Uh-huh.
and that was when we were doing the more of the weather. And when I first went on the ship, we
The ship was in Hawaii?
that was our home base,
Uh-huh.
Hawaii. The PCE, we went from, oh dear, I think it was Johnson Island. That was the aircraft from Johnson Island to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time in my life I ever rode an airplane.
Oh, really?
Oh, I was thrilled beyond anything.
So that year after the war, what were your duties?
While I was on the PCE for a while,
Right.
and we were still doing weather, and that was it. We
Okay.
were just patrolling because they had so many folks to go home that you just didn't. When the war was over, walk out the door.
Right.
You had
Had
to
to
stay, and we did everything for a while. We went to the bases, and they had us clean up and so forth and so
Okay,
on.
whatever needed to be done.
Exactly. And as I say, I was discharged in Long Beach. I didn't tell my folks I was coming home, so
Oh,
I
you
just
didn't?
walked in. No.
You just walked in on your folks?
Yeah. Oh, my mother, she burst out crying.
Sure.
And my father just said, "Huh, you're all right, huh?"
Well, did you keep in touch with family and friends while you were abroad?
Family, I did. And
How did you do that? With the
letters.
mail?
Yes. I couldn't, I didn't, the lines for the available phones was so long. So,
And you got letters from them?
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I would write to them, especially my sister, whom, when I was growing up, we were kids, I wasn't very nice to her.
Oh. Is she older or younger?
She's younger. And typical brother and sister. For example, when the company would come to visit us at Wyandanch, they'd always bring a little bit of candy or something for the kids. So I would glom my candy and I would finish it quick. Then I'd say to my sister, "Hey, Sherry, how about a Milky Way, huh?" And she'd say, "No, you don't need it. You finished yours, you glutton." So I would try to snatch it from her, and she would tell my father. My father would give me a smack with a belt on the legs. So
Not the best older brother.
I'm sorry?
You were the older brother taking her
Yes.
stuff.
Yes, but I tell you, to this day, she travels from Wyandanch to here.
Oh, nice.
And we go out and we have a meal and we gab about old times.
Nice.
And I tell you, I learned to love her
Yeah, I bet.
when I was in the service.
Nice, nice.
So
What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you form while you were in the service?
on the big ship, on the carrier, I stayed pretty much to the radio gang. And because the ship was so big, you know, and the small ship, I knew just about everybody.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, you always told great stories. About 3/4 of them were lies.
Did you keep in touch with these fellows after the war?
After the war, with it dwindled down. At first, right different fellas, but as time went on, we didn't have any reunions or anything like that. As time went on, maybe a year or two, and then that was that.
Yeah.
And
How were you received by your family and friends? Your folks were ecstatic, I'm sure, when you got home, but
Yes.
what about your other family and friends? How were you received when you came home from the service?
very well. I met with my friends, and we did the things that guys usually do.
So you were, what, 20 years old by then? 19?
I was 19.
19. So what did you do then once you're back?
Well, what I did was I met my best friend, fellow I went to school with since I guess we moved out to Wyandanch. I went to him for several years, and we knew each other and we were buddies before we left. So, plus he had a car and I didn't.
Oh, nice friend.
So we went around and we did what young fellas usually do. We'd go to the beach, we'd meet girls, set up dates.
Did you work, or did you find a job?
Okay, yes, I did work. I worked at what they called at the time the bottled gas company, Conservative Gas. And
You worked there before you went to the service.
I worked for them before and after. And
They took you back.
Oh, they were very nice to me.
Nice.
And I could work half a day. So I'd go to work in the morning, meet Robbie in the afternoon, and we went to the beach and we'd go dancing at night. And I had a great life
Nice.
until
Yeah.
my father got a letter from the government, or not from Uncle Sam, but from the Treasury Department, a check for, I think it was $20. And my father's, when I got off work one day, my father says, Billy, I got a check for $20 from the government. They don't owe me money. So I said, well, Pop, I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it. Just cash it. So he said, no, I don't want to cash it. They may call me back. I said, oh, $20. Oh, Pop, that's mine.
Yeah.
He says, how come you got $20? So I said, don't worry about it, Pop, it's mine. It's no mistake. You're not involved. So the next day he asked me, how come you got that check? So I had to tell him, and I knew what would be coming. I said, Dad, they have what they call the 5220 Club. At that time, if you had an honorable discharge in the Navy or in the service, you got $20 a month
Oh.
for a year. That's how I got the 5220 Club.
Okay.
52 weeks.
Nice. So regularly, every month.
Not $20 a week, $20 a month.
Okay.
So every month that thing came, and boy, oh boy, that was good money.
Yeah, sure.
So he'd say, well, how come they gave that to you? I'd say, Pop, we served our country.
Right.
We did the right thing for our country. And all I heard from that was a, So, sure enough, about 3 days later, my father said, Billy, we have to have a talk. Okay, Pop. He says, 3 things. Number 1, you go out and get a real job.
Wait, but you were at the gas company at that point?
Right, yes,
Oh.
I went. He says, you get a real job,
Oh.
meaning something that you can work all day and,
Oh, I see.
You know.
Full-time.
yes. So he says, oh, Pop, jobs are hard to get. He said, I know. And he give me the stare. He says, you get the full job, full-time job, or, what was the other thing? There were 3 options, the full-time job, or go to school. I understand you can go to school at the government expense, they'll pay for you. Or number 3, get out.
Oh, gee. Wow.
So
What did you pick?
there was no choice. I went to school.
School. Good.
Yes.
For what?
So I went to Farmingdale and graduated after 2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
In what?
Radio and communications. What I was in the
Wow.
service.
Okay.
So I had a grand time there.
So you knew a lot of it already.
Yes.
And what did you do after the 2 years with that?
After the 2 years, I started looking for a job. And after I graduated, I wanted to work for Bell Labs. They were the research company for the New York, for AT&T at that time. And I went there, showed him my papers, and the interviewer laughed at me. He says, my boy, we hire people with this piece of paper and use them as floor sweepers.
Oh, jeez. Really?
Yes. So, too bad. So then I went, he sent me to AT&T office in New York for an interview. They interviewed me and told me I'd be going all over the country because the Bell system was all over the country, and wherever they needed you, you went.
Oh.
So I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. So he says, all right, that's your choice. You could go over to Brooklyn and see if New York can handle you. And there I was, I had to go to Brooklyn again, that foreign country.
That's funny.
I went over there and I was hired by the phone company.
Nice. Well, what did you do for them?
I was hired as a lineman and I worked for 7 years. Then I was appointed a foreman and loved that job.
You did?
Working
Wow.
with men. I loved it.
How long were you there?
I was there for 38 years.
Wow. Terrific.
Yes, I was very fortunate. I was in the right spot at the right time, and they sent me to an engineering school that they had up in West Point,
Oh, wow.
and that was a good experience.
Was that to get another 2 years of college in, or it was a training?
No.
Okay.
No. This is after.
Oh, training.
Yes.
Okay.
So we didn't stay too long up there. It was just about a month.
Oh, okay.
Or something, and then after that is when at the end of oh dear, I can't remember the year anymore. 1985, I think that was. Then I got married 2 years later, and moved to Merrick. And we were in Merrick till I retired.
Okay.
And after I retired, I moved upstate. Spent the best 10 years of my life.
Nice. Did your wife work? Was she working?
She didn't work until the kids got out of school.
Oh, and you had 7.
Yes.
How many girls, how many boys?
4 boys and 3 girls.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yes, it was a good family. Of course, they were like everybody else. The girls were nice. The boys, they did what boys usually do.
Right. I forgot to ask you, when you were in the service, did you have time for recreation, or what did you do when you were off duty on the ship?
When we were in Hawaii, I was still 17 years old. So the other guys would go to beer garden, and they'd have a good time. And I couldn't go to a beer garden, so I went down to Waikiki Beach and would go swimming. And there were thousands of servicemen there.
Really?
That reminds me of a story. On one of the beaches, this is after the war, on one of the beaches we went to, there were women there. And you could picture a couple thousand guys and a few women. When a girl had pulled a cigarette out of a purse, it looked like guys had flamethrowers. All the guys wanted to give her a light.
That's cute.
Just one of the things I remember.
Yeah.
But
So have you remained? How was it readjusting to civilian life for you?
No problem.
No problem.
No problem at all.
Did you remain in? You said you remained in contact a couple of years only, but what
Yes.
about? Did you join any veterans organizations?
I joined the Catholic War Veterans in Wyandanch. Then after that, I joined the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Oh, nice.
And I was in that till I left there, till I left North America and went upstate.
How do you think, Bill, your wartime experiences affected your life?
It made me grow up. Grow up by what I mean, getting out of town and seeing how the rest of the world was. And I think I was better for it.
Nice.
I'm not a bit sorry I was in there.
Really?
No.
What are some life lessons you learned from your military service?
More to be responsible for yourself. And in that way, well, I always loved my family, and my family came first, because I remember when I was, maybe 13 or 14, wanting to go out and get some money so I could help my parents out, because at that time there was no money. And I didn't have a car, so I was stuck around in Wyandanch. I remember going to work for a lady. She had a power lawnmower and a big lawn, and she paid me 35 cents an hour, which was darn good money for a squirt who was maybe, I don't know how old I was then, maybe 13 or 14.
Oh, right.
So, and I'd come home and I'd give that money to my mom.
Nice.
And I'd say, Mom, I want to help out. I know.
Oh, that's nice.
So she would give me a little bit for my money. And I used to, I had a great friend in Wyandanch. We'd go down to the drugstore. Our big treat was getting ice cream sundae.
Oh, I bet.
I think it only cost maybe, if I can remember, 20 cents
Is that right?
or something. And that was our big treat.
Yeah.
So things, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Things were better, unfortunately, as the war came on.
Mm-hmm.
But it got better for a lot of people.
Because of the economy.
People could get better jobs.
How do you feel your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
About the war, I still feel that it's our country. If we're here, we should support our country. Sometimes I think the reasons that we go to war, we shouldn't be so quick to pull a trigger or anything like that. We should know what we're fighting for, what we're doing. And
How do you feel about the military in general?
my training was great, and I had a good time in it. I didn't get in any trouble. I've heard of guys, wild times and things like that. Fortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to call it, I didn't get involved in that.
Yeah. And were you ever injured while you were in the service?
No, but I did have one comment. When I was in the Navy over in Hawaii, they picked a couple of guys. We called it a draft. You had all these folks standing by who was trained to go fight or whatever. And they said, you can't go overseas.
To you?
Yes.
Oh.
You know, on your final medical or something. I said, why? And they said, well, you have what they call the deviated nasal system, meaning broken nose and never.
Right.
So I said, well, why can't I go? Because you would be getting headaches and it wouldn't be good for you on a ship or whatever. So I said, well, what can you do about it? And they said, well, nothing. What do you mean nothing? So they said, well, we could go and take care of that.
Oh.
So.
Did they?
Yes, I was so gung-ho, get me there.
Oh, wow.
And they did that, and I tell you, I felt terrible because I come out of there, I looked like Dracula, big mask,
Yeah.
but it finally came off, and then I got my way out.
How long was the recovery for that?
Oh, about a month.
Wow, really?
Yes.
You were in Hawaii? They did it in Hawaii?
In Hawaii,
Oh,
yes.
okay. That was.
But I still couldn't go and enjoy myself because
Yeah.
I didn't have enough money.
That's funny.
So.
That was before you were sent abroad?
Yes.
Ah.
Because they wouldn't send me
With that.
overseas without having that procedure done.
Oh, I see.
And other fellas were saying, what are you, a dope?
Yeah, just get out of it. Yeah.
Just you didn't sit here and enjoy yourself. And I said, oh no, I gotta go. And they say,
Wow.
you're cuckoo.
Very nice for us, thank you. So what message would you like to leave for future generations who might hear your interview here?
I'd like to say what's important to me is my family. That's very important. And before that, I'd say my church is number one. My family, number two. Number three is getting involved in politics. Politics meaning knowing who your representatives are and knowing what they stand for, because sometimes they don't make right decisions. I recollect I went to college luncheon. They had that for all the students and the parents. And I spoke a few words to the extent, God, country, and do your job. And I said, you guys are the leaders. I said, I'm middle-aged now. It's up to you guys. And that was
Nice.
That's how I felt.
Very nice. Anything else we haven't talked about your service that we didn't cover?
No.
We're good?
No, it all worked out for me. I'm a very, very fortunate citizen, and I'm here in the vet's home, and I can't say enough for this place because they're very, very good to us veterans, and thank God for the taxpayers who support us.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you for what you did. You deserve every wonderful day of your life. Thank you. Thank you so much for your service, Bill, and for willing to share it with us.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.